The band had its origin in 1958 as the backing musicians for North London vocalist Stan Saxon. Dave Clark played drums and contributed backing vocals alongside a frequently changing lineup. Clark and guitarist Rick Huxley both participated in the 1958 lineup. Clark and his bandmates eventually split with Saxon and reconstituted themselves as a standalone concern in January 1962, making their home in the South Grove Youth Club in Tottenham, London. After a little more evolution, a lasting ensemble was settled, with Clark on drums, Huxley moving to bass, Lenny Davidson on lead guitar, Dennis Payne on saxophone, and Mike Smith on keyboards and main vocals. Davidson's previous bands were the Offbeats and the Impalas. The Dave Clark Five was promoted as the vanguard of a Tottenham sound, a response to Liverpool's Mercy Beat sound. Dave Clark struck business deals that allowed him to produce the band's recordings and gave him control of the master recordings. Songwriting credits went to Clark, Clark and Smith, Clark and Davidson, and Clark and Payton, although it had been reported that Clark's friend Ron Ryan actually wrote or co-wrote many of the songs without receiving any credit. The issue was settled out of court. Session drummer Bobby Graham is also reported to have played, sometimes alongside Clark, on some of the band's hits. The Dave Clark Five had 12 top 40 hits in the UK between 1964 and 1967, and 17 records in the top 40 of the US Billboard chart. Their cover of Bobby Days Over and Over went to number 1 in the US on the Billboard Hot 100 on Christmas Day 1965, despite less impressive sales in the UK. It peaked at number 45 on the UK singles chart. They made 18 appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show, more than any other British invasion group, including the Beatles. The band released a film, Catch Us If You Can, which was directed by John Borman in 1965. It starred Barbara Ferris and was released in the United States as Having a Wild Weekend. The short film Hits in Action highlight a series of Dave Clark Five hits. Other than the song Live in the Sky, Maze of Love, Inside and Out, Red Balloon, and Lost in His Dreams, the band did not follow the psychedelic music trend that happened in the mid-60s. Their popularity in the US mostly dried up by 1967, though they continued to score hits in Britain for another 3 years. The Dave Clark Five disbanded in 1970, having had 3 singles, manager and producer of the recordings at the same time. Following the group's breakup, Clark set up a media company. In the process, he acquired the rights to the 1960s pop series Ready, Steady, Go. Additionally, he wrote and produced the 1986 London stage musical Time, the Musical, where he directed the last performance of Sir Laurence Olivier. A 2-disc vinyl album was released in conjunction with the stage production, featuring music recorded by Julian Lennon, who did a cover of Dave Clark Five's hit Because, Freddie Mercury, Stevie Wonder, Cliff Richard, Ashford and Simpson, and Olivier selected dialogue. This double album was digitally remastered and released on iTunes in May of 2012. Mike Smith teamed up with Mike DeBow, who was previously with Manfred Mann, who I might do a video in the future on. They did one album in 1976. He also released a now scarce CD in 2000 titled It's Only Rock and Roll, and returned to performing in 2003 after a hiatus of 25 years. He formed Mike Smith's Rock Engine and did 2 mini tours of the US. He unfortunately died on February 28, 2008 in a Buckinghamshire hospital from pneumonia, a complication of a paralyzing spinal injury sustained from a fall in 2003. And unfortunately, a couple years before that, Dennis Payne died on December 17, 2006, at the age of 63 after a long battle with cancer. Rick Huxley didn't die much later. Rick Huxley died on February 11, 2013, at the age of 72. Lenny Davidson taught guitar for many years at a school in Cambridgeshire, where he still lives and is alive as of May 2021. Between 1978 and 1993, none of their music was available to be purchased in any commercial format due to rights holder Clark declining to license the band's recordings. In 1993, a single CD, Glad All Over Again, was produced by Dave himself and released by EMI in Britain. After a 1989 deal with the Disney Channel to rebroadcast the 1960s ITV show Ready, Steady, Go, He made a deal with Disney-owned Hollywood Records to issue in 1993 a double CD history of the Dave Clark 5. No Dave Clark 5 material was then legally available until 2008, when the 28-track hits compilation was released by Universal Music in the UK. In 2009, selections from the band's catalog were released on iTunes. The Dave Clark 5 made the list of nominees for the class of 2008, and on December 13, 2007, it was announced that the band would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 10, 2008. The group was inducted by Tom Hanks, who wrote, directed, and starred in the 1996 film That Thing You Do, which was about an American one-hit wonder band that became popular in the wake of the British invasion. In attendance with the three surviving members of the Dave Clark 5 were the families of Lenny Davidson and Rick Huxley, and Diz Payton's two sons. Mike Smith had planned on attending but died 11 days before the induction. Dave Clark opened up his acceptance speech by saying that he felt like he was at the Oscars. Davidson mentioned that they arrived in New York City for the ceremony on March 8th, exactly 44 years after the group's first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show. Joan Jett honored the Dave Clark 5 by performing bits and pieces with John Mellencamp's band. To perform Glide All Over, Jett was joined by John Fogerty, John Mellencamp, Billy Joel, and other artists who performed throughout the evening. In 2019, almost the entire catalog from the band, including all the original 1960s studio albums, became available on Spotify for the first time. BMG Rights Management, with whom Clark has recently joined forces to release the band's recordings, released a new Dave Clark 5 Greatest Hits CD on January 24th, 2020 in two configurations. So that's what happened to Dave Clark 5, and I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Let me know who are some other artists you want me to do videos on what happened. They could be dead, they could be alive. I'm up for almost anything, so let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in my next video.